Hello and welcome to the University of Hertfordshire. My name is Dr. Christina Schelliter and I'm the head of English Language and Linguistics, and I'm going to take you through what it is like to study English Language and Linguistics at the University of Hertfordshire.
So why would we study English language and linguistics? Well, language is vital to everything we do as a species. We communicate via language, we write using language, and so therefore it is quite fundamental. Knowledge about language can be useful and applied in many different fields and professions. So, for example, a number of our students go into the relatively new field of forensic linguistics, where students study authorship, traits of authors, linguistic traits, and, for example, one can do an acoustic analysis of the speech in a voice parade. Another area is that of speech and language therapy, and a number of students do graduate as speech and language therapists. So in that area, you look at language disorders either in children or in adults, for example, after an adult had a stroke. A number of our students also go into teaching, and here it is either primary school teaching, where, for example, phonics is important for learning to read, but also in secondary school, there is teaching of academic skills, teaching English to non-native speakers, and of course, English language as a subject per se. Depending on the subject combinations that our students take, students might go into publishing, editing, particularly when studying subjects like journalism or media alongside English language and communication. So we look at many aspects of language. We look at where language comes from, how we use language, and the effect language has, as well as the question how language is acquired. And we'll see a video clip from discussing the question of where language comes from, what the origin of language is.
But when did we actually start to speak? The dawn of speech is one of the great puzzles of evolution, because there's no fossil record of verbal communication for scientists to look back through. Mark Pagel is an evolutionary biologist on the hunt for the origins of language.
There's a lot of ideas about this. They're all speculation, but they rely on having the right genetics in place and having the right anatomy in place. And we know that by 200,000 years ago, both of those things were available.
We may have been physically able to speak, but linguists believe it's more likely that the birth of language coincided with the proliferation of man-made objects around 50,000 years ago. At this time, there was an explosion in art and technology.
We start to see for the first time in the archaeological record lots of different tool types, lots of different implements, lots of different huts that people lived in, and so these things seem to appear rather abruptly, suggesting that there was some change in the way we lived.
So these and other theories are part of a module where we look at the origins of language. And here's an example from the forensic linguistics side. You might remember the op-ed article, which was written by an unnamed Trump administration official. This appeared in the New York Times on the 6th of September 2018, and it claimed that unsung heroes on Trump's team were working diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. Given that this was an anonymous writer, people asked the question who this could have been. And the BBC ran the text of the New York Times column through some writing enhancement software. And here are a couple of things that they found. So, for example, they found that the words per sentence, the sentence length, was 19.3 words per sentence. This is actually quite long compared to spoken language, which is definitely less than 10, more like 6 to 8. The writer used long sentences. And the other feature is the use of the passive voice. So, for example, in the column it said, occasionally reckless decisions that have to be walked back, instead of somebody walked something back. So these two features could be characteristic of the particular author. And here we have another example from child language. So in this clip we see a researcher, Dr. Deb Roy, who installed a camera in his house, so you see from top down, and he recorded his son 24 hours a day, so he managed to capture everything that his son said, and in this way he was able to observe how a particular word developed over a period of time, and that gives us some insights.
Just like time-lapse video lets you capture a flower blossoming, what we're going to hear is the blossoming of a speech form.
Okay, water, water.
Water? Water? Water. That's water.
Water.
It will take years for Deb Roy and his team to analyse all of the data. But buried within this footage are the secrets of how we learn language. If the patterns can be unlocked, then once this remarkable project is complete, we will have the clearest understanding yet of how a child achieves the remarkable feat of learning to talk.
And this is also a topic area that we discuss in the course of the studies. At the University of Hertfordshire, you meet a variety of different students from over 100 different countries. We also have English language teaching as a particular subject. And to give you a flavour, on the 15th of June 2019, there was a conference held at Trinity College London and Regent's University. It was the 4th annual Future of English Language Teaching Conference. The objective was to help teachers improve their skills and practices through easy access to professional teacher training. Now, some of the kind of discussions among teachers of English language, the English language, focus, for example, on what is the standard native speaker. And inasmuch as it is often difficult to sound like a native speaker, is a foreign accent something negative? Or do we all need to strive for speaking like a native speaker? And also, if in the teaching of English, is any use of the native language of the student's language a sign of low proficiency? So those are the kind of questions that might be discussed. And I also want to mention at this point that we do have an MA in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. So students can go on to study with us at postgraduate level. One of the things that our students can do is to spend a year abroad, and particularly if you do study a combination with the language, it's a good idea to opt for a year abroad. You can go to one of 43 countries around the globe, and some of our students go to Japan and China as well. So let me now take you through our modules at levels 4 to 6. You can study English language and linguistics as a single honours subject or in combination with other subjects. So for example, you can study English language with language teaching or with a language, or you can also do both English language and applied linguistics, as we call this combination. And you can study other combinations, English language and history, philosophy, literature, journalism, and media. Whatever you do, one of the two modules that every student has to take in their first year is Introduction to English Linguistics 1 and 2, because these modules give you the basic terminology, and that's why everybody needs to do them. Depending on your combination, you might also have to do the module Investigating Language, which is a research module and gives you an introduction to the research methods and study skills within English language. And if you are a single honours student, then you also do English language in use, communication, introduction to English language teaching. And in semester B, the second semester, you can choose to do language and mind, which has to do with how the mind processes language, language in the media, which is about social media, communication, interaction, context, which is about your language use. So then moving on to level 5, there are two modules here which are compulsory. And you can, from level 4 to level 5, you can drop a minor subject or go from a major to single honours. But you have to do Sounds of English and English grammar. You can do language and species, where you look at the origins of language, language and society, where you look at differences in region or differences among using language to different people, vocabulary. Then you can do the module Toolkit for Linguistic Research, which is a research module which gives you more insight into different research methods, and it is a good module to do as preparation for doing your own project at level 6. Forensic linguistics, we already talked about. Then there is language competences in career development, where you can get your first taste of doing some work experience, and that can set you up for your future career. And then you have the option to do learning and teaching language. If you study English language teaching, you have to do both of these modules. If you're an English language student, you can choose to do just the first part, learning and teaching language 1. Then if we move on to level 6, at level 6 you will find there are no compulsory modules. You can study English language as a major, or you can take a project at level 6. You can do English language, you can do child language and communication, which has to do with child language. You can do language processing. You can do chunky language, which looks at how different chunks of language go together. Meaning and context, which has to do with the meaning of language. Clinical linguistics, where we study language disorders either in children or in adults. Gender in language and communication has to do with gender issues, gender differences. Communication in cultures looks at language in relation to culture. Global Englishes looks at different Englishes across the world. And then you have the choice of doing a project. So you can do the English language project either as a 1-semester project, or you can do it as a 2-semester project. As a 2-semester project, it is worth 30 credits, and it's a longer project. As a semester 1 project, it's worth 15 credits. And if you study English language teaching, you also have to do a project in that subject, the ELT project. So In general, we find that 96.5% of our graduates are in work or further study within 6 months. And here you see graduates in the cathedral in St. Albans, which is always a nice occasion. Our English language graduates, we find that we have a consistent record of high achieving students. So every year we have a number of students that achieve a first class degree, and some of our students win a university prize. Many of our students progress to postgraduate study. Students generally find that we are extremely supportive to every student during their studies, and we generally have an open door policy. That is, you can come and see us during our drop-in sessions, or we can make an appointment outside as well. And here we hear from a student who graduated last year and see what she has to say.
I do English language and communication with English language teaching. I previously did do English literature, but decided that English language and teaching was better for me. Well, I've always enjoyed English actually from when I was a little girl, and I did English literature with English language in A-levels, and I just felt like it wasn't enough. I wanted to carry it on, so I did this in university. It's just provided me with more of an insight, especially for students as well who are trying to learn English. It's just provided me with more of that insight, and it's just been a really fun experience. I've generally have enjoyed just learning both aspects of it. And it's not just English, we learn about the brain as well, with language and mind, you learn about psychology and grammar. There's a lot of different aspects of English. It's been a great experience actually. I've really enjoyed my time here. I love the fact that we have so much support as well, because it is quite difficult, especially being in third year. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of things that do happen, so it is really nice to have support and just be able to confide in your lecturers or even your peers or your friends. So it's been really good. I did take part in a little summer camp last year over summer, where I was a teaching assistant for foreign learners of English. So that was from May to August, and it was really interesting. It was really fun to just be a part of the classroom and just see them so excited about learning the English language, something that I haven't really been able to understand because obviously it's a native language of mine, but it was really fun experience. I would say all aspects really. There's a lot of things that are included, especially when it comes to the independence of English as well. So I am in third year and I am doing a project which is literally just based on me doing a research project that I'm interested in, me doing the research and finding secondary research as well. So there's a lot of independence, but I do think that is a very important skill to have, especially after uni as well. So I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. If you do have any queries, please do not hesitate to email me. You've got my email address there.